Hey there, it's episode 102 and we are checking in to see how we went in 2020. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 102 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making my podcast one of your choices. If you're a first-time listener, then hey, super welcome to you. And if you're a return listener, then hey, welcome back. Glad to have you here again. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and just about everywhere else I hang out to make your business life simpler. I'm a thought leader when it comes to marketing here in Australia and a marketing strategist for small businesses. Why? Well, because I know that business can be lonely and hard and complicated, and it's rarely easy, but it definitely should be simple or a little bit simpler. So that's my commitment to you on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. One way I can make your life a little bit simpler and give you a really cool place to hang out is if you come and join my Facebook group, Like-Minded Business Owners. There is some amazing business owners in there, and they are just so giving of all their wisdom. And, you know, there's some really great chats that happen there. So if you're looking for a bit of a tribe to join, come and join Like-Minded Business Owners. You can find it by heading to Facebook and just typing in Like-Minded Business Owners. Or, of course, you can go to the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/102. This episode is brought to you by my other business, Spend With Us, so www.spendwithus.com.au, which is an online marketplace for rural and regional businesses. At the time of recording this, we have only a few days left for Australia Post to guarantee your parcels, your Christmas shopping to get to your house, and about 10 days left for Express Post. So if you still haven't done your Christmas shopping, or if you have to buy presents virtually for someone, consider Spend With Us. It's a great platform supporting about 600, almost 700 small, rural and regional businesses. It's a great platform, and I would love you to support it as well. Go and take a look at all the W's, spendwithus.com.au. But today we are checking in with ourselves, with the year, with our business, and seeing what 2020 may have been for us. It may have been brilliant for you, and that's totally okay. I know there's a lot of people out there saying it's been a crap year and it's been horrible and it's been a shit show, and maybe it has for you. But if you've had a great year, please celebrate it. Please give yourself a big cheers, a big pat on the back, and go, you know what? I rocked this year. And I really think that you need to celebrate that. Don't worry about what everybody else has been through. This is you. This is your time to shine and celebrate. So if you've had a great year, celebrate it. If you've had a terrible year, then, you know, we still need to look back and reflect on that. Lots of reasons why you might have had a terrible year. You may not have been able to change, but maybe it hasn't been as bad as what you think it was. And that's probably what has brought this podcast on. So this episode has actually been brought on by a task that I did this week. And I have to say, a few things blew me out of the water. We really do need to look back to look forward, and that's what I've spent this week doing. Just to set the scene a little bit, one of my goals for next year, so 2021, is actually to get out and meet people face to face, all these amazing humans that I've met only online. But my other goal is to speak more on stage about community and about marketing, to be a guest on more podcasts, and to have put in for more awards as a marketing strategy for my business. So there's some pretty lofty goals that I have for 2021. And of course, those things I really can't do on my own. Like, I'm only one person. I'm running a business. I'm running a side hustle business. And really, I just don't have time to, always be looking for speaking opportunities and podcast opportunities and knowing what awards are actually coming up. But I feel that this is really where I want to take my business in 2021. So I've reached out to a colleague and a friend whose business it is to actually sort through all this and actually to get these things for me. And so I've employed her to help me achieve what I'm thinking are pretty ambitious goals for 2021. And let me tell you, there has been a lot of paperwork to go with this little contractual agreement that I've had. It's been quite a lot of paperwork to do, and lots of paperwork that's kind of like, what are your goals and what are your big picture thinking for 2021 and beyond, and what did 2020 actually look like for you? And so I've had to sit down and I've had to answer these questions. And one question, well, actually really 3 questions that were on this form totally blew me away with the answers that I gave, simply because I hadn't grouped all these things together. I hadn't looked back to see what I had actually achieved in 2021. The questions were, what media outlets had you been featured on this year? What podcasts had you been a guest on? And did you blog for anyone this year? And when I sat down and I really went through my inventory for 2020 to find the answers to these questions, I actually found out that I'd been on more than 23 media outlets, so print, TV, and radio. I'd been a guest on a bit over 12 podcasts, and I've written 5 blogs for other businesses. Now, those numbers might seem a lot or might not seem a lot to you, depending on your own business model. But honestly, I was totally blown away. I had no idea I had done so much PR for my business. And the simple fact that I wrote these down, I had to check. And that was, was that this year or was that last year that I actually did that blog, or I was actually featured in that media outlet, or, a guest on that person's podcast? Like, it was a really if you had have asked me before I did this task, I would have thought, oh yeah, that was last year, which is probably a bit of a sign of the year that it was. I had to write down what I achieved, my 5 biggest or proudest achievements for 2020, and how many events I'd actually been involved in. And I actually noted when I added all these up that I'd hosted almost 50 webinars this year. And again, totally blown away. And I don't say any of this to brag. Clearly, you know me better than that. But I really wanted to point out to you that a year that has literally dragged on, and really, I'd only probably achieved 5 out of the 13 goals that still sit front and center in front of me every day. And I probably couldn't achieve many more than the 5 simply because of the year it was. But I would have said that I hadn't really achieved much. But putting it all down in paper and being forced to look back at what had been achieved has been a really interesting task for me this week. And so that's what I want you to do. I want you to go and grab a piece of paper, and I want you or to start typing if that's the thing you want to do. And I want you to answer a few of these questions and really check in with yourself. So the questions that I would really love you to write down the answers to, or type down, I don't think that's the word, to type the answers to, questions like, what were your 3 or 10, totally up to you, achievements this year? What were your top 3 or your top 10 achievements for 2020? How did they actually make you feel? When you look back on them, what sort of a sense, what feeling do you get from knowing that you achieved those goals this year? What did you achieve that you didn't actually think you could? So that might not necessarily be a pandemic type why you couldn't, but maybe it was because it seemed like a massive goal when you set it, but you achieved it. So thinking a little bit around that concept as well. What worked in your business and what didn't work in your business? And if these other questions are applicable to your business model, maybe answer these questions as well. Again, what media outlets were you featured in? What podcasts were you a guest on? What awards did you apply for, or were you a finalist in, or did you actually win? By what sort of numbers did your social media grow in 2020? And if you look at your goals for 2020, which ones did you achieve and which ones, given the year, were actually achievable? And those of you that didn't actually achieve those goals, are they still applicable for 2021? So maybe if you set a goal for 2020, is it still applicable for 2021, or do you need to shut the door on those particular goals and just go, you know what, that was my goal for 2020. I didn't achieve it, but it's not really where I want my business model or my focus to be in 2021. And if you had a word for 2020, how did that fare? If you're not quite sure what I'm talking about here, about having a word for the year, head back to episode 46, socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/46. Go back and listen to that episode in light of the fact that we have a new year coming again. For some, goals are a little bit hard to set. Goals might seem a little bit too lofty, a little bit too futuristic, a little bit too hard to knuckle down what your goals are. But I encourage you to focus on one word then, or even if you do set goals, what's that one overarching word that encompasses all the goals that you want to achieve for the year? My word for 2020, which of course, if you go back and have a listen to episode 46, was impact. All the ways I'd actually intended, or most of the ways I'd actually intended to impact the world in 2020 simply didn't happen. And honestly, if you had have asked me last week, if you had asked me last week, had I achieved the impact I was looking for in 2020, I would probably have said no, or maybe, or sort of. But doing this task for Jemima this week has really made me look back on the year. And I think my answer would be yes. Have I had an impact? Is it different to what I thought it was going to be? Absolutely. But have I had an impact? Yeah, I would actually say that I would. And as my kids would say, it's all G. It's all good. So if you had a word, how did that word fare? Did you achieve the word that you wanted? My word for 2021, I'm actually tossing between impact again, which I think will be my third year running. So maybe I need to push my comfort zones a little bit and find a different word, or perhaps community, or maybe even both, because, they're my words and I get to choose my words. But, maybe community is going to be my word for 2021. I can't encourage you enough to go back and listen to that episode 46. I know that it talks about 2020 and, you've got to kind of leave 2020 and focus on 2021, and ignore that sort of language that I was using. But there's a worksheet in there and there's a step-by-step guide on how you can come up with a word for 2021 that can really help you encompass all of your goals, all of your dreams, and all that you can do in 2021. And as my business coach always said, who do you need to show up as in order to reach the goals that you want? So who do you need to show up as to reach the goals that you're actually going to set for 2021? It's such a powerful question. And it really is that powerful question that I'm going to leave you on for episode 102, because I think there's enough work in this episode to go and think about your word of the year. Really take that revision mirror sort of look at your year and sit down and just write down everything that you have achieved this year. I'm 100% sure that you will be super surprised at what you've actually managed to achieve. It mightn't have been what you wanted to achieve, but I really think that it's time that we gave ourselves a huge pat on the back for everything we have achieved in 2020. And of course, always remember that the world needs you, because no one else can do you like you. So the world really needs you to show up, and you need to show up as the person that can reach the goals that you want to set. I'd love to have more of a conversation about words of the year and, who you need to show up as and that sort of thing in my Like-Minded Business Owners group. Or, of course, you can send me a DM on Instagram as well, or even an email if that's what you would like to do. Jen@jendonovan.com.au is my email address. Now, also, if you're listening to this live when it drops in early December 2020, then come and join the virtual Christmas party that I'll be hosting in Like-Minded Business Owners, in the group Like-Minded Business Owners on Tuesday, the 15th of December at 5 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So I'd love to see you there, get to see all your faces and say hello and, wish you all the very best for, the coming celebrations that will finish the year off, and of course I wish you well for 2021 as well. Of course, I will be back next Thursday with another great episode to help you simplify your business in 2020. I won't be taking a break over Christmas, so you can rely on me to be in your ears. I was going to say 24/7, but that's not right. 52 weeks of the year is perhaps what I need to say. But yeah, I will certainly be dropping episodes all through December and January, so I would love you to come back and listen again. If you are enjoying this podcast, please hit that subscribe button and maybe share it with another superstar business owner who also needs to have a look back on the year that was and pat themselves on the back and have a celebration cheers for everything they have achieved, even if it wasn't what they wanted to achieve. If you would like to leave me a rating or a review, then I would super love that. That would be great. And it would be a really nice little Christmas gift that you could give me as well. I will, of course, be back next Thursday for episode 103. And in the meantime, let's get social on social and hang out. Of course, Like-Minded Business Owners, you'll find me there on Facebook or Social Media and Marketing Australia, but also on Instagram and, of course, in LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small. Say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.